I am Engineer Tyson Wong from the Costa Rican Institute of Cement and Concrete. I am the General Coordinator of the Institute. Well, first of all, I would like to thank the organizing committee for inviting me to this prestigious international conference. I would like to welcome everyone to this brief talk about accessible, sustainable construction in tropical areas after COVID-19. In this, after this pandemic, we need to reassess how the activities that we do every day are impacting on the planet and the environment. That's why I would like to present to you this standard INTE C170 version 2020 reset the requirements for sustainable buildings in the tropics. As you can see on the right hand side, that's the cover of the standard INTE C170, and this standard, what it tries to do is that it ensures the sustainability and resilience of buildings, including climate change adaptation maximized in the design stage for construction operation of the buildings. One of the main obstacles here in Costa Rica to have environmentally friendly projects in any type of construction project is the budget. We have limited resources. So this standard, one of the main objectives of this standard is to take advantage of design factors and social elements to improve the quality of life and environmentally sustainable projects without spending a lot of money. I would like to share with you the timeline of the elaboration of this document, of this standard. The first document was developed by the Tropical Architecture, the Institute of Tropical Architecture in Costa Rica. And the president is Bruno Staño. He's the one that was responsible for the first development of the document on this institute, and then it was ceded to the Institute of Technical Standards of Costa Rica in 2012, when the first version was released. After that, it was revised by different entities and professionals that were interested in the benefits that this standard could offer with the criteria that it has. So it has been consulted by people wanting to make projects in Mexico, Argentina, and France, and Africa. Sorry, in France, it has been well accepted by the architectural community, and it has been published in a couple of books. And in this case, the 2020 version was released just January of this year. I was lucky enough to be part of the committee that was in charge of this update. So we could improve it and adapt it to the times for now. Okay, let's get into the methodology of the standard. The first big filter is the classification of what type of project do you have, if it's a social housing project or not. In this case, if it's a social housing project, you don't need a context assessment, but if it's not, then you do. The instructions are here on the left-hand side of your slide. So here you can see that, well, on the right-hand side, you can see some of the criteria in the context assessment worksheet. In this context assessment worksheet, what we want to do is classify our project in the way that it has a high, minimum, or a low impact. This context assessment has 11 criteria to check the parameters and quantify the points that you get in each one of those criteria. The first 4 of them are the level of economic development, the type of urban area, the relation between terrain and areas of special natural interest, and population density in the zone. As you can see, these ones are the first 4. There are, as I told you, 11 of them. When you finish this criteria assessment, then you go to the chart that is below. In this case, then you can classify your project in one of these four colors, depending on the impact that your project has. After this, you can apply the climate factor table, because we need to know if the criteria of passive strategies are going to be successful in the area where you are going to make the construction, your project, right? So we need to know that this passive usage of natural lighting and natural currents of air is going to be available in the specific area. In this case, there are 8 criteria that you need to be aware of, which are the Holridge classification, the average annual rainfall, the average sunshine hours, the average speed and consistency of the wind, etc. After this, when you have these classifications, then you go to chapter 6, that is going to be next, which is requirements for evaluation. As you can sense, this standard can be certified. In case that you have a construction project, or you are in design stage or in operation, you can certify each one of those 3, and you can achieve the certification fulfilling at least the 70% of the criteria in your impact level, and including the unavoidable ones. In the next slide, I'm going to show you a brief scope of what each of them are. The backbone of this standard is Chapter 6, which is evaluation of the requirements. I'm gonna very quickly, very broadly going to explain each one of them to you. The first section is spatial quality and well-being. This one mostly is about the relationship between the people and the environment. How are they interacting? What kind of distribution do you have? Does it have natural wind circulation or natural lighting? Does it have areas to minimize climate effect indoor and outdoor? Does it use shadows for cooling the spaces for comfortable temperatures without air conditioning in some cases, right? The second section is the environment and transportation. Mostly this one is about the surroundings of your project and how does the users go in and out of your project. In this case, the first thing that you need to know is if the site of the project is adequate, if it's according to city planning, and in order to avoid areas that flood or that are exposed to any other disasters. In the third section, we have social and economical aspects. In general, this one, the objective that it has is to access for everyone to fair financial mechanisms for contracts. It can be for buying food, for local purchasing or materials, respect of social securities, respect of minimum wages. In this section also, you need to calculate the investment that you have put in the environmental aspects of your project, and also you need to calculate how much money have you gained from the environmental benefits from these aspects. In this case also is included the sociological studies. How is your project and its functioning and its activities going to impact the society, the local society in the site? The fourth section is soil and landscape. So in this case, soil and landscape, it mentions the minimum soil substitution to avoid transportations, and also to encourage forest rehabilitation, use of native species for vegetation, and such. In the fifth section of materials resources, the sixth one, there is efficient water management and energy optimization, the seventh. In these cases, what is encouraged is local purchasing. The promotion of modular building and easy disassembling, the construction methods that minimize waste. Also, different kind of strategies that reduce the percentage of resource use, and such as rainfall capture for irrigation or other uses, the use of biogas, artificial illumination designed around the natural lighting, minimize equipment of usage, electrical usage. It is oriented to that kind of aspects. In this section, you can see on the right hand side the actual standard. So you just have an idea. It's in Spanish. I'm sorry, we haven't had the time to translate it yet. And on the left hand side of your slide, you can see it translated to English, a small part of it. So you can just have an idea how does it look. In this case, in the Annex 1, there is a carbon footprint inventory mentioned, which was developed by the institute where I am the general coordinator. So it's an easy tool just to have an inventory of the carbon footprint that you have in your project. The takeaways that I want you to have from this brief talk is that we cannot return to normal. We have to reassess the interactions that we have with the environment. Costa Rica and India are quite susceptible to climate change and are in need of resilient and sustainable structures with smaller budgets. Since by 2050 the UN has issued some statistics where the majority of the human population will live in tropical areas, where a third of them will be children, we require to offer affordable housing and cities where it can have the three main aspects of sustainability: economically, socially, and environmentally friendly. As I told you before, the certification, you don't require the certification. You can buy the standard and just use it in guidelines as a guideline for your project, and you can easily take advantage of all these criteria and ideas that you can have and perform in your project to make it more sustainable. I hope you can take something valuable from this small talk, and thank you very much for your time. You have there my contact information, the acquisition link for the standard, and the older version in English. Thank you very much for your time.